Jeff Bezos can put $1 billion a year into rockets and still not buy what Elon built with SpaceX. That money goes into Jeff Bezos' rocket company, Blue Origin. In 2025, after about 25 years as a company, Blue Origin finally put its big orbital rocket New Glenn into orbit on January 16th. That same year, Elon Musk's rocket company SpaceX flew its workhorse Falcon 9 rocket about 167 times. New Glenn flew about 2 times that whole year. Now, Blue Origin started in the year 2000, 2 years before SpaceX started. And it does not matter what year the company was founded, and it does not matter how much personal money funds that work. What really matters is how often they fly. And then in May of 2026, an explosion during a ground engine test damaged Launch Complex 36, which is Blue Origin's Florida pad for New Glenn. How often a company can launch is how you get real access to low Earth orbit. That's how satellites and space networks get up in space. A growing share of maps, timing signals, and connectivity for ships and planes sit on hardware in space, and in the AI and tech transition, more of those systems depend on someone who can fly often and keep flying. This is about who can turn getting to orbit into a regular job, the kind of job that countries, companies, and big networks will need for years as more of daily life depends on space. SpaceX is already flying on that scale with factories and pads that keep putting hardware into space year after year. Blue Origin is still early on that path even after New Glenn reached orbit. These companies have had money being thrown at them for a really long time, but money by itself has not closed that gap. This is something investors in Musk companies are deeply familiar with, especially Tesla investors. They know that the money part is completely irrelevant, and for those investors, a partner like Rebellionaire, the sponsor of this video, can be the perfect fit to maximize returns. Bradford Ferguson and Matt Smith, who run Rebellionaire, are big-time retail investors in Tesla, just like many of you that watch my videos often, who have done tons of unique and insightful research around things like FSD, Tesla Optimus, Tesla Energy, and the entire Musk ecosystem, so they understand exactly where you're coming from, but they're also professionals. And through Rebellionaire, they specialize in helping investors like you with big concentrated investments to protect yourself from downside risk while growing your share count over time using strategies like trimming and adding or covered calls. Not only that, but they can also help you create a money master plan from your financial first principles. If that sounds interesting to you and you've got at least a $2 million position in Tesla, you can head on over to rebellionaire.com/Farzad using the link in the description or the comment section below to learn more about their services. And thanks again to our longtime sponsor, Rebellionaire, for sponsoring this video. So why did money never buy Jeff Bezos what Elon built with SpaceX? Both men have money and ambition, and both want to put rockets into the sky for a living. But like we said, if money was enough, that gap would have been gone. So what's the machine that actually produces that lead? What turns cash and ambition into frequent flights rather than expensive rockets that only fly once in a while? The machine that produces the lead is a loop of launches. You fly often enough that every flight teaches the team something useful about the rocket, the pad, and the landing. For example, you land the first stage, that big reusable bottom of the rocket, so the most expensive piece of hardware comes home instead of burning up or falling into the ocean. You fly that same stage again. Each cycle makes the next flight cheaper and more trusted, so more missions show up, and those missions mean even more flights. That is how cash and ambition turn into frequent flights rather than expensive rockets that only leave the pad once in a while. SpaceX ran that loop for years on Falcon 9. In 2015, they landed an orbital class Falcon first stage for the first time. That proved that the expensive bottom half of the rocket could come back in one piece after a mission to orbit. And in 2017, they flew a first stage that had already once flown. By the middle of 2026, individual Falcon first stages were flying into the mid-30s, some of them over 36 times. That is the same expensive hardware going up and coming back again and again until reusing those rockets is normal work for the factory and the flight team. After enough of those cycles, the team knows which steps fail, which steps hold, and how to turn a landed stage around for the next mission. Now, Jeff Bezos has put serious money into his side of this race for a long time. He has said publicly that he was selling about $1 billion a year of Amazon stock to fund Blue Origin. $1 billion a year can pay for factories, engines, ground tests, and careful engineering. But what it cannot buy by itself is the practice you only get when the rocket leaves the ground over and over again. When launches stay rare, the team does not get enough flights to get better the same way. When you fly, you practice, but money without frequent flights still leaves you short of practice. Let me give you an example. An airline that flies the same expensive plane every day learns how that aircraft behaves in weather, delays, and repairs. A company that builds a beautiful jet and flies it twice a year never builds the same habit. Rockets work the same way. The unit of learning is a flight. And you don't close a lead like that by building one rocket once. You close it by running that loop for years until landing and flying again are ordinary. And the factory stays busy with hardware that has already flown. SpaceX did that on Falcon 9. Blue Origin has money and ambition, and it still has not bought the same amount of flight practice. It just hasn't happened. Now that still leaves one big question. Where does that endless demand for those flights come from on the SpaceX side? How come they can launch so many rockets? And the answer sits mostly inside of SpaceX. The Falcon factory does not only wait for outside customers. SpaceX's biggest regular buyer is SpaceX through Starlink, the satellite internet network. By the middle of 2026, Starlink had more than 10,000 working satellites in orbit and about 12 million customers around the world. A network that large still needs continuous launches to grow coverage, handle more users, and replace satellites as they age out. So Starlink keeps ordering flights from the same company that builds the rockets. The demand is a steady stream of missions the factory can plan around year after year, with work already on the books before the next outside contract lands. They already have the work. That shows up clearly in the flight calendar. In 2025, about 120 flights out of 160 were Starlink-class missions. Outside customers still buy launch slots for governments and other companies that need their own satellites put in orbit, and that obviously still matters, but at the same time, SpaceX has a built-in customer that keeps the factory busy even when outside orders slow down because those satellites still have to go up. For example, think of a pizza kitchen that also owns a huge delivery app. People can still walk in and buy a pie, but the app keeps placing its own orders every night, so the kitchen stays full of work. On the SpaceX side, outside buyers still book the rockets, and the internal satellite network keeps ordering launches year after year. That is how Falcon stays busy without depending only on the next outside contract. And Amazon has the same exact playbook. That network is Amazon's satellite internet network, Amazon Leo, formerly Project Kuiper. Leo sits under Amazon, and Blue Origin is a separate rocket company that may launch some of those satellites. In an early July update in 2026, Amazon reported about 396 production LEO satellites in orbit after 14 missions. That is much earlier scale than Starlink's more than 10,000 working satellites. Amazon books Blue Origin's New Glenn for some of that work, but Leo also flies on Falcon 9, on United Launch Alliance rockets, on Ariane rockets, and on other vehicles as well. On some flights, Amazon is a customer of SpaceX. Amazon can choose among several rocket companies for the rides, but the people who buy Leo Internet pay Amazon. But Starlink is SpaceX's own built-in buyer for Falcon. Blue Origin can win some Leo launches, and that still leaves Leo as Amazon's network and Blue as a launch provider, among others. So something very important here is to watch how many Leo satellites ride New Glenn, not only how many Leo satellites exist in total. If Leo grows fast on other companies' rockets, Amazon's network can still get large, while Blue Origin's launch factory stays only partly filled by that demand. And in comparison, 100% of Starlink launches go on SpaceX. Now, real quick, if you're enjoying this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. It's completely free and it goes a very long way. Thank you so much. Now, that leaves a different question. What was Blue Origin actually building for 2 decades if it was not a Falcon clone? Why did they choose to go this route? Now, Blue Origin spent those 2 decades building a different set of machines. And yes, those machines still matter even if they do not match Falcon's flight rate. One of those products is Blue Origin's suborbital rocket, New Shepard. Suborbital means the vehicle climbs above the atmosphere and comes straight back down on the same trip. It does not stay up and circle around Earth. That flight is meant more for tourism and research. Riders get a few minutes of weightlessness and then the capsule lands, if you saw those videos of Katy Perry or whatever. In July of 2020, 2021, New Shepard flew people for the first time, and Jeff Bezos rode that mission as well. But SpaceX already had orbital crew flights running. SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule had already flown NASA astronauts to the International Space Station in May of 2020. Those astronauts reach orbit, dock with the station, and work there. But New Shepard gives a short weightless ride and then returns the same day, within the hour. Crew Dragon is a ride to a workplace already flying around Earth. Now, both things are hard, but they train a very different thing when it comes to rockets. The market for things to do in orbit and outside of Earth's orbit is way bigger than a tourism hop around Earth. SpaceX can now effectively mine the moon, mine satellites, even go to Mars, while Blue is really capped to just tourism under this rocket. Now, Blue Origin also built engines that other American rockets need. Blue Origin's BE-4 rocket engine is a large engine that Blue builds for big rockets. United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket uses 2 of these engines on the first stage, and Vulcan first flew in January of 2024. Government and commercial customers still book Vulcan launches, so those missions need Blue's engines before the rocket can leave the pad, obviously. Now, those same engines power Blue's own large vehicle too. New Glenn is Blue Origin's big orbital rocket, and the first stage runs on 7 BE-4 engines. New Glenn reached orbit for the first time in January of 2025. So over those years, Blue built a reusable suborbital rocket that flies people, an engine line that flies on Vulcan and New Glenn, and finally a large orbital rocket of its own. But at the same time, Blue spent years without the repeated orbital launches that train a launch factory day after day, the way Falcon flights train SpaceX. Building engines for United Launch Alliance makes Jeff Bezos' company a supplier for another major American launcher, but it also splits factory attention between engine deliveries and New Glenn's own needs. Engine orders and orbital rocket work share the same people, factories, and calendar. So you're choosing to allocate your time and resources to another company versus yourself. You can see that Blue Origin's approach was much more careful. They're building step by step. But was moving carefully a deliberate choice about quality? And does the early New Glenn flight records supply? Or is it something else? Part of that answer is yes. Blue Origin has long run under a Latin motto, gradatim ferociter. I don't even know how to pronounce that, which means step by step ferociously. The idea is simple. Do not jump ahead and skip steps in the build. Prove each stage works before you treat the next one as solved. And being careful is a valid way of doing engineering, especially with rockets. Rockets carry people and expensive hardware, and rushing over the steps can literally kill people and crews and waste years. Careful work on machines like this can be the right choice, but even so, careful work still has to face how learning works on rockets. When launches stay rare and you only get a few orbital flights, the team does not get enough practice to get better the same way a busy flight schedule does. Practice piles up when the same crews and the same hardware fly again and again. The early flights of New Glenn show both sides of that story. On the first flight, called NG-1, in January of 2025, New Glenn reached orbit on the first try. Now, the first stage booster did not come back for reuse. On the second flight, NG-2, in November of 2025, Blue landed a New Glenn booster for the first time. On the third flight, NG-3, in April of 2026, they flew a booster that had already flown once. That was their first reuse. Now, the upper stage failed and the commercial mission was lost. But at least the company still proved reuse on the first stage. But then they were hit with a catastrophic failure. On May 28th of 2026, Blue ran a static fire, a test where the engines run while the rocket is held down on the ground, and the test ended in an explosion that damaged Launch Complex 36, which is Blue Origin's Florida pad for New Glenn. And that pad was the only one they had for this rocket. When you have only one pad and only a handful of orbital flights, one accident can pause the whole program for a long time. Now, in contrast, after many catastrophic failures, SpaceX still has multiple pads and a factory full of boosters, so they can keep going while one side recovers. Blue Origin is still building that spare pad and booster capacity. Blue has also tried to speed up how the company works. In 2023, Dave Limp became chief executive. He came from Amazon operations, and the hire was a public push for a faster tempo after years of a slow launch cadence. So both things can be true. Being careful can be true, honest engineering. We're doing our best here, right? But you still have 3 orbital flights with one main pad that's up in flames. That is not a good place to be. So if they are really that behind on operations, does that mean Blue Origin is irrelevant? No, it doesn't. Being behind on how often you fly does not make a rocket company useless. There are two different measures people mix together. The first is the factory measure, how often you launch and how often you reuse the same hardware. On that measure, SpaceX leads by a wide margin. The second is national backup. Can the United States still get military and commercial satellites up and still reach the moon if one provider stumbles for a quarter of a year? That second measure is why Blue Origin is still so important, and it shows up for major government work. The United States runs National Security Space Launch, which is the program that buys rides to orbit for military and intelligence satellites. In the latest multi-year round of that program called Phase 3 Lane 2, the maximum contract dollars each company can earn sit at about $5.9 billion for SpaceX, about $5.4 billion for United Launch Alliance, and about $2.4 billion for Blue Origin. SpaceX is at the top of that list for obvious reasons, but Blue Origin still counts as a funded path for the US government to employ a rocket company. Blue Origin is still massively important, and all the moon missions follow the same logic. NASA's Artemis program needs landers that can put crew and cargo on the lunar surface. Now, SpaceX won the first NASA moon lander contract in 2021 for about $2.9 billion. Then in 2023, NASA awarded Blue Origin about $3.4 billion for Blue Moon, its lunar lander, as a second path under Artemis. Now, both efforts obviously have a ton of schedule risk. Something could go wrong, so neither side is guaranteed to hit the original timeline. So a second option gives NASA an option in case something goes wrong. So Blue Origin is still obviously important when it comes to building engines, as a national backup launcher, and as a second lunar lander path, and can still be way behind SpaceX on everything else, especially around reuse. Now, if this pattern keeps going, what is the likeliest trend? And what would actually change the picture? If this pattern keeps going, SpaceX is the company most likely to keep the lead on how often it launches and how often the same boosters fly again. And so if current trends hold, SpaceX is going to have a massive monopoly in space, but at least we have another player in the US that is willing to take the risk. And the only way for Blue Origin to really catch up is that they have to figure out how to make rockets faster, how to land them faster, and adopt a lot of the cultural things that SpaceX has implemented into Blue Origin so that they can be a competitor long term. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was informative and helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Mwah!